Hey guys, it's Movie Fan 23 here. Okay? Me. Do you like me? How amazing poster? Anyway, welcome to my movie review on Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Directed by Jeff Fowler, written and directed by Jeff Fowler. Came out in the year of 2022. I'm not going to say really made in the year 2022 anymore, considering that like it really wasn't, because I think it was kind of made in 2021. Um, Starring Ben Schwartz as Sonic, Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails, Idris Elba as Knuckles, Jim Carrey, and obviously Ben Schwartz back as Sonic. I said that already, but Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, and James Marsden back as fucking Thomas Wachowski, Don't Lord, along with other people, Agent Stone, fucking Maddie, Rachel, Jojo, fucking Adam Pally, all of that. Back as Wade. So, came out in the year 2022, obviously based on the video games Sonic the Hedgehog. And this one in particular is based on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3 video games. So, yeah. The plot of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is Robotnik is still stranded on the Mushroom Planet from the end of the first film, just making, living life there, drinking fucking awful drinks that he's making, or whatever. And he's basically had this plan to try and escape the planet because he wants to get revenge on Sonic. So while he's doing his various escape things, he gets the quill that ends up connecting it to the thing, and it ends up sending a message out. These creatures come out of it from this portal that opens up, a ring portal that opens up, one of the rings. But then Robotnik, even though he gets knocked out, he fucks all these other guys up. Then he runs into Knuckles, the echidna, who was introduced into this film, and looks fucking awesome. And essentially, he's like, "Where'd you get that?" And he's like, "From a little blue menace on a place called Earth." And then you get the "I'll happily show you the way" meme. Anyway, Sonic essentially is still living with Maddie and Tom, but he wants to do more with his powers. So every night he's going out and he's stopping criminals. He's been doing it for a while, but we see him kind of stop a bunch of these criminals at the start of the film, and save this guy, but he's not doing a very good job of it. He's being reckless and blowing street blocks up unintentionally. So Tom is kind of like, "Look, man, you're being reckless with your powers," and Sonic is basically like, "No, I'm not," or whatever, or he's like he wants to be a hero, whatever. So Maddie and Tom are going off to a wedding, Rachel's wedding, and he leaves Sonic in charge. He was just partying, being normal. Meanwhile, Tails ends up coming to Earth and being introduced in this film. Actually, in the kind of this post credit scene from the first one is actually in this movie, except it's done slightly differently. And Tails is basically looking for Sonic because he knows that Knuckles and Robotnik are on his on his trail. So Knuckles, so basically Eggman and Robotnik attack the fucking house. Did I say Eggman and Robotnik? Fucking hell. Eggman and Knuckles attack the house, and Tails saves Sonic. But we learn about this thing called the Master Emerald because Tails tells Sonic about it, and he learns more about it and learns that the map from the first one that Longclaw gave him actually has a place, actually has directions to it. So Sonic and Tails need to basically go on this mission to get the Master Emerald before Robotnik and Knuckles do. And Robotnik and Knuckles, like, obviously know about it because Knuckles tells Robotnik about it. So Robotnik gets in contact with Agent Stone, and then eventually Knuckles and Robotnik team up for most of the film and are kind of chasing Sonic and Tails a lot. It's a cat and mouse game. And then there's a whole subplot at a wedding, and the organization from the first one is officially named GUN, or Gun, which is from the video games. From Sonic Adventure 2. I believe it's in the first one as well. And basically it's up to Sonic and Tails to get the Master Emerald and stop Robotnik. But eventually Sonic and Knuckles fight, Robotnik betrays Knuckles, and Robotnik steals the emerald, leading to a fucking great finale. So he ends up creating this gigantic robot thingy that's in the fucking video games, and Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles team up to stop him, and obviously Knuckles turns good or like teams up with them, and they stop it. Sonic becomes supersonic, saves the day, and then Tails and Knuckles also join the Wachowskis to live with them at the end of the film. That is the summary of the movie. So, what did I think of this film? I'm going to say that in a second once I get a drink, because fuck me, I'm exhausted from explaining all that. Anyway, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, in my opinion, is a fucking fantastic sequel. And honestly, one of the best animated sequels out there. It's up there with like Shrek 2, Across the Spider-Verse. Okay, it's not as good as Across the Spider-Verse, but like, this film is fantastic. It's a great sequel, and I love it to bits. I'm going to explain why. First of all, the movie is a lot more like the video games than the first film is, because it introduces Tails, Knuckles, the Chaos Emeralds. The Robotnik has his look that he has in the video games throughout the entire film, so that he had at the end of the first one. There's a shit ton of references to fucking all, to like Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, 3, Adventure 1 and 2, fucking, you know, Sonic Riders even kind of, with the board or whatever. Um, so it feels more like the game, but in general, it's just a better movie. It's funnier in parts. It's more epic. It's got a bigger budget, and I know bigger doesn't always mean better, but the finale is so much better in this one than the first one. It's epic, and it feels like a Sonic video game with cutscenes come to life, which is what I love about this movie. So, I love, first of all, I'll talk about Knuckles. I love Knuckles in this film. I think Idris Elba does a great job voicing Knuckles. He's great at being emotional, dramatic, badass, and funny, especially, right? Um, the moment you see him, you know, you have fucking Eggman on the planet. He's like, let me get this thing, see who comes a knocking. You get a great shot of like the fucking mushroom planet, and he gets the thing, the quill. Goes with this quill, you know, and then he goes, repeats it. It's like, I have it this way, and he's there like that, and he goes, you know, and electrocutes him. He's like, I'm gonna do this. Let's see who comes a knocking, or whatever. Hits the thing, and electricity just goes, and he just goes ah, and then it's really funny as well because it just goes, and then Robotnik just goes ah, and he flies back or whatever. So I love that, and then just the build up to Knuckles is amazing. You know, the portal opens up, the ring portal, and then you have these kind of fuckers walking out of it, and he goes hi, and then you know grabs the, goes hola, you know, it does the Jim Carrey thing, hits it, like, flies back, and he's there, oh bang bang, using the fucking Agent Stone thing that he had in the first one that flickers and smacks the guy in the head and flies off, and he's like yes, he gets up or whatever. And then he says a really, really funny line, which is like, it's time to get off of this piece of shiitake planet. And, you know, he's just running towards the fucking portal, you know. And then Knuckles just enters and you see his silhouette, and then it has a close up into the red kind of glow or whatever. And he falls down, like, as if to say, who the hell is that, you know. And then you get to see Knuckles' presence over Robotnik, and he's like, where did you get that? And he's like, from a little blue menace on a planet called Earth. I'll be happy to show you the way. It's like, yeah, and then you just get this great zoom in shot, and it's like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you know. So I love that introduction to Knuckles, but Knuckles throughout the film, he's got so much depth and character, you know. Like, you get this amazing chase sequence where, like, essentially Sonic and Tails are in this place, and you know Robotnik comes in or whatever, and he fucking shoots a missile, you know, and fucking Sonic grabs it and like going out, and then the robots are there attacking, like oh shit, and then you know fucking Knuckles is trying to go for them, and then Sonic like smashes into this robot, grabs it, and actually makes a little fucking surfboard. He's like woo, and then goes like that. He goes quick stretch, and here we go. And then he just goes down, and it's like, woohoo! And like, even the cinematography and how like fun that sequence is great. And he's just skiing down, and then Tails is kind of flying off, and he's like flying away from Robotnik, like ah, and then Robotnik's like da, and then like Knuckles comes and smashes his own thing, and then you get this great chase sequence, um, down a fucking, you know, down a hill, a snowy hill, and the snow is coming down. I was like, oh my god, no, you know, and you get this kind of really fun chase sequence, and Sonic shows his kind of, I guess like his kind of funny charming side. He's like, oh, you can't get me. He's like, you are no match for me, Hedgehog. He's like, oh, I'm no match for you, but here I am in front of you. It's like he's like, I have been training for this my whole life. It's like, and I have had no training at all, but here I am in front of you. You know, it's like whatever. And then Knuckles tries to punch him. He goes, for a guy named Knuckles, you're really bad at punching. And eventually he fucking smacks him or whatever. It's like, whoa, you know, and it's just a very fun, like, snowboarding sequence that goes on for a while Tails is like, Sonic, and he's shooting other things or whatever. Um, but even like the scene before that, when he's like, when Sonic is like, it's like, hey, Tails, you got a little something on your thing, and you have the laser. He's like, oh no, and then Robotnik is like, you know, shooting stuff, and the fact that it has the thing from the video game, the hover thing that he's in, I love that. And him and Knuckles are there, is like, hello, Hedgehog, jumps down or whatever, and is you know, they're just kind of exchanging with each other. Um, and like Sonic says this one funny line where he's like, "We gotta talk about your new look. It looks like the Monopoly Man mixed with Professor X." He's like, "Oh, joke all you want, Hedgehog," you know. And also, Robotnik, Jim Carrey as Robotnik is a lot more the way Robotnik sounds in the game. So he's actually just as good. He's also a lot more evil in this movie as well. Like, you kind of see that he's lost it, and I think that's actually part of his defeat in the first film, because it's like his destiny to kill this fucking hedgehog more in this one, which the rivalry between Sonic and Eggman is explored a lot more in this film than the first one. But you know, they're kind of having that back and forth, and he's kind of, you know, quipping, and then Jim Carrey's doing his thing, and Knuckles is just there being badass, and Tails is there, and then that's when it leads to let's go, and it shoots the missiles like whoa, and then Sonic just grabs it and it throws the fucking thing, and then bang, and it's in the L temple, like oh god, and then there's like explosions, like whoa, and then it just goes off, and then the L temple starts falling as well, and it's really well done effect, and he just goes off, and it fucking great leads to that great chase scene. But the snow chase scene on that mountain, in my opinion, is great. It's great because it goes on for a while where you have Sonic and Knuckles fighting, and then you know there's a big explosion. He thinks he loses them or whatever. He's like, "Oh great!" And then no, you see Sonic is kind of just skiing by himself for a while, and then eventually, obviously, Knuckles grabs the thing, breaks it, and then there's a big explosion. Then he jumps down. He goes, "Oh great, the Winter Soldier!" But the way that he's kind of jumping and it has that shot of him is really cool, and it's colorful. But I love that Sonic is just thinks he's all free. He's like, "Yeah, Tails, go this way," and then you know, at first he's kind of just dealing with the robots. He sees all the robots kind of flying out. It's like, go get them. And the robots are just kind of flying out of the cave. And it's like, whoa, you know, whatever. And then he's like thinking, oh, I done that. I got rid of them. And then obviously Knuckles appears. He's like, oh, great, the Winter Soldier. Um, but you get this really cool sequence where the robots are just, like, it's exciting. The robots are there. And he's just there, oh, and he's like smashing them and breaking them. Like, the game's like, whoa. And then he's like, whoa, and he's doing all these cool tricks, and he's like, Tails, do this, you know, and then get a great shot of like Tails flying away from Robotnik. He's like, whoa, and it's just him coming after him, and then he has the fucking, he puts the goggles on as well, so he just looks exactly like he does in the game, you know. But just a really fun sequence, and Sonic is there like flying, and then the fucking laser's like, whoa, he's like, oh, and he's kind of doing the skateboard, and then he's there the surfboard, and you hear this song that I've heard. It's like it goes like do 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 do, and then the lasers, and he's kind of go ooh, and he's kind of like hitting them slowly, which is kind of like the replacement scene for the part at the first one when he's in San Francisco. And then you hear him kind of smashing them, blowing them up, which is a great effect. And he's going pew 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 pew, whatever. And Knuckles is fighting, but then you know it seems like in that sequence everything is against Sonic, and I love that, building up the stakes essentially. Um, but I was going on about Knuckles. Knuckles in that scene, he's just a fucking badass. He's just so determined. He's like, I'm gonna get you, Hedgehog. You're no match for me, and all this. He's like, come back here, and all that. He's like, he's like, I've been training for this my whole life, Hedgehog. And he's just like, and yet I have had no training at all. Here I am ahead of you. It's like, wow, and all that. And he's just like, what are you doing? And Sonic is just so quippy in that scene. And then, like, Robotnik is there. And, like, Sonic just being quippy towards Robotnik is great. And the roasts he comes out with. Um, but what I love is, like, you know, um, Knuckles' like introduction to when Sonic is there. Like Sonic is by himself in his house. He also references snow dogs, which I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this in cinema 2 years ago, I was like, Jesus, that's a very obscure reference. The fact I got it as well. But he's there like talking to Ozzy. He's like, oh, having a movie night. He's like, ooh, what? Let's watch a movie. But I am not watching. You pick the next movie, but I am not watching Snow Dogs again. That movie is the worst. And I love that line as well because it's actually a really, really smart reference to Ben Schwartz's character in Parks and Recreation. But it was actually it worked well for this film because it was a funny nod to that. But like kids might find that funny as well, and they're obviously not allowed to watch that show. But it was very funny and well delivered. And then the power goes out, bang, like oh, it's like whoa, and all that. It's like, and then he's like, oh, Ozzy, and he has he's kind of going, ooh, it's scary. And then Ozzy walks up, he's like, oh, sorry, buddy, I didn't mean to scare you. I like that because it just shows Sonic's human side, kind of doing that, like kind of this whole aspect of like, um, Jonah's human side that was kind of explored at the end of the first one. But when he gets up and walks around and the TV turns on by itself, he's like, oh, sorry, we didn't know there were a poltergeist. And even the way the camera works, it's like kind of a horror-esque scene. And like he sees a figure and you see Robotnik's figure and stuff. He goes, is this meant to be the pizza guy? Because this is totally unprofessional. And then just that moment where he walks up and then fucking door handle comes off. He's like, what? And then the reveal of Robotnik, and he's just like, "Hello, Hedgehog." He's like, "Eggman." He's like, "How'd you get back?" He's like, "Oh, it's been a while. It's great to be back. Did you miss me?" That kind of thing. And he's like, "I don't know how he got back, but you made a big mistake coming here." He's like, "Oh no, I didn't," and all that. And it's just the whole part where he's like, "I'm gonna get you and your little donut friend and his wife, and your little cop friend and his wife, and your little dog too," and all that. He's like, I brought help, and you get this moment where it's like, you made a mistake, and you get the light up, and then Sonic's about to jump and hit Robotnik, and Robotnik's kind of like that, and then you just get Knuckles, and Sonic is like, huh, and then bang, you just goes right through the fucking house and all that, and Knuckles is just there like, where? No, no, not fucking Knuckles. Robotnik is just like, where is my manners? Sonic, meet Knuckles. He's like, my new BFF forever and ever and ever. Like he just still has that funny line. It's like he got more crazy is in this film as well compared to the first one. But the red and blue light CGI I love as well. Um, but the fact that he's just there, and he walks over, and he's kind of like, oh, yeah, like Knuckles is there, like kind of talking. It's like, look, Robotnik, I don't know what you want, but it's like, I don't care who he is. You're not going to get my power. And then, of course, Knuckles just goes, do I look like I need your power? And then they start fighting. And it's like fucking each other up and punching. He punches him out to the yard and all that. And he's like, ugh, and then he's just like that. And he's like, you are unskilled, untrained. You're no match for me. It's like you think you're a match for me. And it's just this kind of like, oh shit, you know? And he's like, you are unskilled, untrained, unworthy. And then Sonic is a badass and is like, you forgot one. Unstoppable. And the CGI is great. And then Knuckles just goes, and the fucking, like, the CGI in that is brilliant. The blue lights up, the red lights up. It's actually, you can tell it was a bigger budget because the CGI is better. And the fur on Sonic looks better. And they even redesigned Tails from how he looked at the end of the first one. But Knuckles is there like that, and Sonic is a little ball, and he smacks him down, smashes him, and hits him. He's like, "Do you want this, apprentice of Longclaw?" And he's like, "Wait, you knew Longclaw?" So like the world building there is great, and then they're fighting, and they're coming on, and then a car just comes and bang, it's Tails or whatever, and all that. So I love that. He's like, "Come on, get in, I'm on your side," and they drive off, and you get a really fun chase scene where essentially, um, Robotnik jumps on the windshield, and Tails like, "Ugh, is he licking it? Ugh, oh my god, he's gone full rabbit," and all that. And then you get just this really fun, entertaining chasing where the car's driving off, and they're like, "Oh, let's go!" And and then Knuckles is kind of running after him, like, and he briefly glides or whatever, and he's like, and I love the, "Who are you? And who is Clifford, the big red rage monster?" He's like, "That's Knuckles, the strongest of the echidnas," and you just see him running there and fucking jumping. He's like, "Okay, I think we lost him," and then he just breaks through a fucking van. I was like, "We definitely did not lose him," and then Sonic and Tails are arguing over, like, "No, this way," with the cop car. It's a fun chase sequence, and Robotnik is just kind of back there, and it just Knuckles is gliding, and they're like, "Oh, I think we lost him," and then Knuckles jumps on the cop car. He's like, "No, we," and then his fist goes through. He's like, "No, we did not lose him. We definitely did not lose him." Throws the fucking thing aside, and they kind of get him off the thing or whatever. And the car's about to crash, and they're like kind of fighting over it. And then Knuckles, like, it's such a cool scene because then the police car, like, basically crashes off the cliff, and then Knuckles is kind of on the top of the car, and he's kind of jumping, and then Tails and Sonic jump out of the car. Sonic is falling, but Tails and saves him like he does in the video game, and flies off, which is so cool. It's like, "I got you." It's like only Sonic the Hedgehog could do something like that. And then Knuckles is kind of like running and jumping off the fucking car, like, and it's so cool. Um, but that's just such a fucking exciting action sequence, and you just see how much of a badass Knuckles is. But there's even like a scene in the film as well where um Knuckles is like, Sonic is making his jokes or whatever, and this is a great example of building upon the first one and world building, and the first one set it up perfectly. Is Knuckles is like, "You think you can mock me? You you apprentice of Longclaw doing all this stuff." It's like, well, he's like, "Well, I certainly know that you echidnas like to show up where you're not wanted and ruin everything. Ruin everything? You took everything from me that day." And then that's kind of when, "I lost everything that day." He didn't say, "You took everything from me that day." And then that's when you get the backstory, and Knuckles is basically talking about how his father says, "Your day to become a warrior will be here, but it's just not today." And you get to see him as a kid and going up to like his Echidna tribe. You see more of the Echidna tribe, and then eventually you see the flashbacks, but then eventually it does lead to, see, you see Knuckles as a kid, but it does lead to the archival footage of the first one as well. Um, and I do think that that was great. It's like, we lost everything that day. We both lost everything that day, and that's the first hint of, oh, they're gonna, obviously I know if you're a fan of the games, but if you weren't, they're like, oh, they're gonna team up or whatever. And then Tails just throws something at him. I got him, Sonic. He's just like, "Deceiver." I was like, "No, no, no, it wasn't a trick, I swear." And then explosion happens, and then it's like, "Oh no!" And then Eggman ends up knocking Tails out from the explosion, and then Sonic is like, "Oh no!" And then you get this big landslide, and then essentially, Knuckles jumps on the thing, Robotnik goes, "Later, hater," and you get this amazing scene where Sonic is holding Tails and going down another skiing scene with the ice, the fucking snow, and he rings Donut Lord, who's being interrupted at a wedding. Um, and essentially, he's like, "Just picture this," like he's on a video call with Sonic, turns it around. And I actually like when his phone rings. It's the Sonic the Hedgehog theme song, the actual original one as well. But essentially, he's like, just picture this: throw the ring where you want it to go, and he ends up throwing the ring, but it's the wrong ring. So you get a funny scene where he goes up and he's like, "I'm gonna have to look at that ring for a second because like it's funny because he interrupts the wedding. He grabs the fucking ring, throws it. The snow just flies out of the fucking thing. She's like, "Snow, my god!" And then they're like, "Oh my god, Robotnik's back." It's like, "Sonic, you're in so much trouble," and all this stuff. And you know, it's just a great little sequence. But the other thing as well about this film, right? I'm gonna mention something that I love about this movie that a lot of people don't like about it. Rachel. Rachel, in my opinion, I think I might have said this in my review for the first movie 2 years ago. Rachel is one of the funniest characters in this fucking franchise. Um, every scene she is in is fucking hilarious. She's like, "Hi, Tom Wachowski, can we bury the hatchet?" And she's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, of course we can." And he hugs her. He's like, "If you ruin my big day, I will end you." Like moments like that are funny. And then, you know, and she's like, Randall, look at me, stop, interrupting the wedding, look at me. Randall is like, "No, I need to see the ring." He's like, "No, I need to see the ring." "Bro, sit down." He's like, can I have that ring?" He's like, "Bro, no, sit down." And then when the phone kept ringing, and it's like, ugh, and it kept ringing and ringing, and she just goes, "So help me, Thomas." I just fucking love that. Um, she's in the movie a lot more as well than the first one. Um, which also Wade is in it a lot more as well. And I have the unpopular opinion about him. I think Adam Pally is funny as Wade. I love the little part where you hear the music and Wade is on his little fucking scooter thingy, and he goes into the mean bean. He's like, "Please open up." He goes, "Put your hands up." And to Agent Stone, he's like, "What now? Put your hands up like you're doing a different musical number. Wave it like you're just after finishing a musical number. Show me your digits." It's like, "Why should I listen to you?" It's like, "Because I'm the sheriff of the day, pal." And then, like, you just have, like, a really dumb scene where, like, he's like, "Okay, pal, I'm done with you. I want answers. I'm going to ask you this one time." He has, like, Agent Stone tied up and he goes, "What do you want on your bagel?" He's like, "I don't." He's like, "That's a display bagel." He's like, "I don't know what you want. I tried good cop. I tried bad cop. I tried this, that, and the other. And oh, that is a display bagel. Yeah." He's like, "I told you." So you get moments like that. Um, but yeah. And then one other aspect of this film that I think is very, very strong is the relationship between Sonic and Tails. And I like that the humans in the movie take a backside. I mean, you do get moments where it cuts back to the humans. Like, you got a scene where, like, Donut Lord is, like, teasing JoJo and takes the fucking, the ring. She's like, "Where's the ring?" She's like, "Oh." He's like, "There it is," that kind of thing, which actually does play an important part later to the story. You got moments where he's kind of worried about Sonic, and she's like, "Look, relax." She's like, "Hi, baby." It's like, "Relax. Let him be okay. Like, enjoy your wife." What she says something like, "Yeah, relax. Let him fly solo. Enjoy the wedding. Spend time with your wife." He's like, "That's exactly what he said. Those exact words." It's like, wow. And then, like, the funny scene, like, when he's playing volleyball or whatever with the guys, like, "Tom, that's great, bro, great." And then they kind of have that link into the plot where he's like, "Those are my groomsmen. Um, I would have don't know where I'd be without them. And he's like, "I wish Sonic had that." It's like, "What muscles?" He's like, "Control yourself. You know, like grooms. Friends, groomsmen, buddies, that kind of thing." And I like that kind of um dynamic. Like, it shows how much he cares about him and that he's running. It's like, "Oh shit, it's an emergency," kind of thing. I also like when he looks at his phone. It's the photo from the first one with the ping pong thing. But yeah, but I do like that the humans take a backside, but they're just as strong in the first one. Like the scene where Sonic and him are in the boat and they're talking, and Sonic is asleep, and then he falls into the water, and then he's basically saying, "Look, bro, you're being reckless. You gotta, stop. You have to use your powers for good. Don't, you know, you have to understand. He's like, oh, not this conversation again. It's like, no, well, it's not fun for me either, but you have to take responsibility, blah, blah, blah. Sonic, you destroyed an entire city block or whatever. And he's like, look, it's Blue Justice, trademark pending. He's like, stop acting like my dad or whatever, you know? And then he's like, I love the part where he's like, I just got goosebumps. Wait a second, did you steal that from Alpha? He's like, nope, that's a Wachowski thing. My dad taught it to me. I'm teaching it to you. I like the little moments where he gets on the boat. He's like, speedboat. And he's like, Sonic, stop moving fast or whatever, you know. But, and then when he falls into the water, he's like, oh, help me, help me. He's like, oh, you know, which that also plays a part because in the games, you know, you drown in the water when he plays or whatever. But, in the film, it's the same. But, what else was I going to say? But yeah, anyway, sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there, but the relationship between Sonic and Tails is brilliant in this film. Like it really is a buddy film between them two. Um, there's a great moment where they're in the bar and Sonic is like, Tails like, oh, that was great, Sonic. You done that. You know that dance was amazing. You know, and he's just like, of course, pal. Anytime. You know that was great. He's like, teacher for me, pal, I can show you all sorts of things. He's like, did you mean that? He's like, of course, yeah. He's like, no, I mean about me being your pal. He's like, of course, buddy, we're in this together, you know? And he's like, when I was young, everyone thought my two tails were weird, but then I saw you and I thought you were weird or whatever, you know what I mean? Um, and stuff like that. But it's not even said in like a funny way. It's just like, and I guess it's like it's that life essence. Like, there's nothing wrong with being weird, you know. Being weird isn't so bad. So I love that like little moment. And then when he's about to fall asleep, he looks over. We've got to get some shut eye, and he's about to go and turns around and Tails is asleep. I love that because it's that kind of like, oh my god, it's like mirroring the scene in the first movie when that was with Robotnik, and you get a great scene, you know, of Tails flying around Sonic. Um, he's like, today we have a 100% chance of adventure, you know, out in the mountains, and then they go into the fucking owl place, and you know, they said, oh, looks like the echidnas and owls were battling for centuries, and the owl place is actually a level in one of the games. And it's not just say with Vin Diesel on the Rock, which I didn't really think was that funny of a line, to be honest. I was whatever. But then you get this really cool animated cutscene which shows like the echidnas with the fucking Chaos Emeralds and the seven Chaos Emeralds forming and kind of the Master Emerald and the kind of backstory of that. And the echidnas and elves fighting. In a really cool animated cutscene. But yeah, like Sonic and Tails, I love their dynamic. Um, the moment where they go into that bar as well, and like the fucking fish head comes off, and it's like run, you know, and then Tails is using the translator thing, and it's saying all this inappropriate stuff, and they're about to get you know, and Tails is like doubting himself, like, oh. No, we're about to get. I'm not smart like you, Sonic. You know, I'm about to get thrown into a fire. He's like, come on, buddy, just trust me, follow my lead. You know. Then you do get a dance sequence, which I actually did like, with Bruno Mars's Uptown Funk, and they have to try to get the map off the guy, which is the reason why the dance sequence there. But I actually thought it was pretty good, and he does the adventure pose, and the fucking Tails like clones himself a bunch of times, um, you know. But like, I love that scene, and then like I love when they're walking through. He's like, Sonic can take care of himself. He's like, he knows where he's going. He's like, I have no idea where we're going. And you have all the snow coming. He's like, what if we go in there? He's like, are you sure they're friendly? He's like, don't worry, Tails. Humans are very friendly or whatever. And they walk in, and they're all aggressive looking, and Tails faints and stuff. But you know, you get really like funny moments. Like I love the introduction. It's like showing Seattle and Sonic is kind of getting ready, and he's like stretching out and he's doing all this stuff, and you get to see and this scene where he's you know essentially going to stop bank robbers and stuff. Like, come on, this will slow them down. They're throwing dynamite, and he just does a shit job. He's like, mind if I drive? Hits them and all, and then he's trying to save him. He's like, what are you? It's like, okay. It's like, sorry. He's like, It's like, I don't speak duct tape. I love that. It's like, relax. He's like, what are those bombs? 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 He's like, relax. They're not going off, and then they go off. He's like, oh, and all that, and then it's like just this really funny scene where he's like, help, 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 and he's like, there we go, and he's like, one of them's in your spiky thing. He's like, oh, throws it out, and then all that, it kind of goes off, and then he goes, it stops. He's like, look, I know how to drive. I'm okay. Holy crap! And nearly crashes into a woman. And then eventually, he's like, there, he's about to crash into an ice cream thing. And he goes, somebody call a drill. And he's kind of going really fast and like this, basically dismantling it. And then like the kid with the ice cream is there. And he's like, look, nobody got hurt. It all breaks. And then the whole fucking city block blows up while you hear it's like goes up. Here, let's hear it for Blue Justice. And he's like, you're a terrible hero. And I love the fear not citizen part as well. But yeah, so the humor in that scene was great. It's an exciting little action scene. Some great nice visuals. Like it has that nice visual look. Even the shot of Sonic looking over the cars, like the police cars like driving is something that you'd see in like one of the video games, like the adventure games or something. Um I love little moments like when Sonic is just partying in the house and you hear, here comes the York Saber murderer, I'm a lyrical gangster. Um, Even little moments, like emotional moments where he's like looking at the map and he's like, I miss you, Longclaw, and you get the flashback to the first one briefly. Even the part where he's like, the projection of Longclaw comes out and she's like, oh, I love you, Sonic. And Sonic and Tails are talking about Knuckles, and the way it says something like, I knew a kid called Knuckles. you know, he was able to fit his whole fist in his mouth. If this is the same Knuckles, we're screwed. And then Tails is like, we'll have to go stop him. Like, Tails like, what do you mean we? It's just like, um, you're coming with me, buddy. He's like, no, but I'm not a field guy, Sonic. He's like, yeah, but you can't. It'll be fine. You'll be fine, whatever. And then I love the scene where it zooms out and we do get a kind of a recreation of the post-credit scene in the first one. But like, Sonic's there partying and it zooms out and you have the portal open up and Tails is like, if these readings are accurate, he's here. I found him. I just hope I'm not too late. Then he flies like, oh, transportation or whatever. But yeah, it's just the scenes like that are great. Um, I feel like this review is longer than I want it to be, but yeah, but you know, as I said, yeah, the relationship between Sonic and Tails is really great throughout the movie. Tails is very loyal to Sonic, especially later on when Tails has the tornado, and he's like, only Sonic the Hedgehog could do that, and he says that throughout the film as well. Only Sonic the Hedgehog could come up with something like that, and even like like Tails is so cute in the movie. Like when he saves Sonic in the car, he's like, "Oh, let me just say, it is an honor to finally meet you, Sonic. Is it okay if I call you Sonic?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." It's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "My name's Tails." Everyone calls me Tails. He's like, "You're probably wondering why." He's like, "Let me guess, because the extra tails." Like, "Yeah, don't worry. Do you trust me?" He's like, "Of course I don't. I literally just met you." I love them. Like, "Give me that, give me that, give me that," kind of thing. When they're arguing and stuff. But yeah, even the like, you know, Robotnik as well. Back to Robotnik. Jim Carrey, he's just fucking great. He is just hilarious in the movie. He says so many funny lines. Like when he pops up out of nowhere after getting the Master Emerald in the meme being places like, Doctor, are you feeling okay? He's like, hello, Stone. He's like, yeah, yes, I'm here, but I'm not all there. That part is just fucking priceless. And he's like, I have an idea and all that. And then you get that scene where he's exchanging with Tom. He's like, oh, look who it is. It's like, look, I kicked your butt off this planet once before. I could do it again. Oh, no, you can't. And all that. And they're kind of back and forth. And eventually he goes, welcome to the new norm. And he starts using his powers like, okay, that's weird. And essentially just massive kind of beam in the sky kind of thing, and starts taking parts trains and all these other things to form the gigantic egg robot. And he starts doing the with the fucking with his leg, and then the robot's dancing or whatever. And the robot looks amazing. Like even there's like one shot of Sonic when he's like kind of beat up or whatever, and then the robot just rises up behind him and it looks really dark. It's like, oh shit. And this is in broad daylight as well, which I like that the finale was in daylight. Um, but you know, you have Gunn there trying to like sort it out and like, oh god, whatever. And you get a great moment where uh Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are based like teaming up, like they're on the tornado or whatever, and trying to come up with a plan. And then Knuckles kind of goes back. He's like, "Oh, he's just after gone off there, or whatever." And then you have like Sonic taunting Eggman, like, "Oh, nice figure, Eggman," and then like essentially, the tornado shooting and the shooting missiles, and then like obviously Sonic is nearly flying off. He's like, "Whoa!" Which is that scene there. Um, and then like Robotnik is just like, see, is like snot rocket, and he's pressing the thing, and it's blowing things up, and then Sonic is trying to run on the bridge, and he's flying down. And he's like, "Come here, nice action figure, Eggman. It's ugly like you," and all this kind of stuff, and like, he's on a tree, and he's just shooting him down. He's like, "Come," he's like, "You can't come and get me." He's like, "Oh, I'm the master of coming and get him." He's like, come and get him," and all that, and he's just there flicking things, you know and I love the step one, light taunting. Step two, I have no idea when he's on the tornado. It's like, this is what we're gonna do and all that. And then even when like they see Tails, they're like, whoa! And Sonic and Knuckles are on the beach, and Tails goes and saves them. It's just a really great scene or whatever. And then you have that amazing scene where the three of them team up. They're all like, yeah, just doing different attacks and stuff, and shooting missiles, and then Sonic gets a missile, goes return to center, throws it at them and stuff, and he's like, those were our best attacks, but they done nothing. That's what Knuckles says, and the three of them team up, and you get this kind of great motivation with your strength, with your power, we can beat them together. And then you get this great moment where the three of them are together, and then they kind of have this Sonic Heroes kind of pose, like, we can stop it, and it's three of them or whatever, and they're like, let's do this, and then they're running and they're fighting, and it's kind of this, they're like shooting things, and then the robots are coming down, and he's like, time to fight or whatever, and he's like, bad time to say this, but I don't actually have a plan. He's like, I suggest find his weak spot, the groin. It's like, the groin, yeah, the groin is great, and it's like, stop saying groin and all that, and it's a great like the way the camera's moving, and then Sonic, like they're fucking, Sonic is going really fast, fighting people. Knuckles is, and it's always Tails, and then Tails picks Sonic up, and they start spinning around, and then there's a great shot of that shows like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles like walking, running from like aside, which is like the game's like, I get it, I'm the groin and all that. He's like, yes, Hedgehog, you are a brave, noble warrior. You will die, whatever. He's like, we're gonna have to work on your pep talks, pal. And Tails is like, yeah. And, they're fighting off and stuff, and just this great moment where they're all fighting and shit, and everything is just going crazy. There's a guy that comes in. He's like, Tom, what's happening? He's like, you think of what I'm thinking? We need your truck. And then, just this moment where they're all kind of fighting, and then, Robotnik is going crazy, and he's like, Stone, would you do something? He's just like, I don't know, I haven't done this before, and all that. And he's like, read the manual. And eventually he's like, where did you learn to do that? He's like, oh, I got it in the manual, sir. I love that. And it's a Sega manual. Um, but another one of my favourite scenes in the film, I'd say, the moment where the beam in the sky goes up, where basically Knuckles and Robotnik go there, they press this kind of button, and the pyramid kind of opens up, and like essentially, and like that's where it's been hidden. The emerald should be in there. So they go there, and essentially Robotnik is like, "Whoo, let's see what's happening in here." It's like, and then he finds like this kind of map thing where he's like, "Work smarter, not harder," and he's kind of walking around with Knuckles like it's like a Siri kind of thing, or not Siri, Google Maps kind of thing, and they're going through a maze, whatever. I love that, and then like I love the idea that they have to get through all these different obstacles, and it looks like a Sonic level, like which is a lot more once again like the game. It's like, oh shit, there's different things like we have to be really careful that nothing bad happens, and the axe goes through. It's like, whew, I'm so happy I didn't lose my mustache, and I love that, like, it's a reference to his little eggs. Anyway, no. Anyway, so they're kind of going through all these different traps and stuff, and like, oh, and they're running and all that, whatever. And they get to the emerald, and he's like, oh, my precious, my pretty, And then you have Sonic having to overcome the fear of the water, which is an epic scene. He's like, I have to stop them. I have to do it. I caused this. I have to do it. Or like, whatever. This is my chance to be the hero. And he goes, does the gotta go fast. And he runs on the water, but like, it's actually quite a challenge. Like, oh, and eventually he's like, oh, and there's waves and stuff. And then he's kind of, in a way, like nearly drowning. But then he gets up and he goes in and then he goes through this. It's like, okay, this is where we go. He goes into this pyramid, right? And he's going through like, oh, all these kind of things, and there's like spikes nearly hitting him, like fire things. He's going through a little fucking kind of axes, like, oh, and it's kind of like you're kind of following him along, and he's kind of speeding, and he's going, to different rooms. It's kind of like the camera's kind of following him around and seeing him. And it's with all these different traps happening, and it's really cool. And eventually he falls through and he's like, nailed it. And then you get a really great fight scene between him and Shadow. Fucking Shadow. Knuckles. You get a great fight scene between him and Knuckles. Stand still and die with honor. It's like, let me think about that. I've thought about it, and I pass. But they fight, and he's like, if you want to get that emerald, you're gonna have to go through me. And then like Robotnik is there, like narrating. Is like, but will he lose Sonic his heart? But will he lose the quill to live? And then like they're just there, like Sonic is at one end, Knuckles at the other. They come up and they're like fucking flying towards each other, and they hit around there, and they like legit punch each other like a lot. And Knuckles even hits him at one point, and Sonic is kind of moving out of the way while Knuckles is trying to hit him, which is a reference to the Sonic X cartoon. And just overall, like, they're fighting or whatever, and then like even a point where like Knuckles like smashes Sonic down, and then like Sonic kind of like goes under, and the pyramid thing smashes, and then Knuckles is kind of like flying up in the air, and Sonic is kind of hitting them and hitting them and hitting them, and he kind of falls down or whatever. And he's kind of going different angles, and Knuckles is in midair, and they're fighting or whatever. And it's a great fight, and he nearly kills him. Like, Knuckles tries to kill him. He's like, look, Robotnik is trying to steal the thing. He's like, do you think I'm the emerald? Do you think I'm going to fall for that? And then you get a really hard scene where, because just before that, Robotnik had like a electricity. He's like, oh, I don't have no use for you anymore with his fingers or whatever. And he was going to basically betray Knuckles. And he's like, wait, I trusted you. You were my friend. What are you doing? That wasn't part of the deal. He's like, that wasn't part of the deal, Robotnik. You're my friend. He's like, oh, how sad, kind of thing. And I was just like, bro. But yeah. And eventually, the Sonic and Knuckles have a heart to heart on the beach, and that's when he becomes good. Sonic also becomes Super Sonic at one point, from the Chaos Emeralds, and just bang, fucking hits the Robotnik thing. He's like, let's be bygones, be bygones. Goes crazy or whatever, and he summons a fucking chili dog, and then they protect the Master Emerald, and Team Sonic is formed. But the part where he turns into Super Sonic is epic. He's just there like that, and Robotnik tries to hit him, and he just goes, and then Sonic goes, and there's a really great shot of him going really fast and explode, like hitting the fucking robot explosion thing. And obviously Super Sonic is the yellow golden Sonic. But eventually they stop Robotnik. I love when he steps on them. He's like, I got him, I finally got him. And then you find out he didn't actually get him, and that's when Sonic becomes Super Sonic. And then he shows up or whatever. Then the movie ends with them playing baseball, and then you get the post-credit scene, which shows, oh, there's this file that's been gone over like 50 years, and he's like, my god. And then you just see a shot of this thing, this red and black glow open up. It's like Project Shadow, and then you get a shot of Shadow, which is fucking badass. It's where the next film takes place. There's loads of other funny moments with Robotnik. I love the start of the film where the fake Sonic thing is coming down, and the little contraption he has, and the opening shot with the fucking planets, and then the egg fucking rock comes and smashes Sonic. I love the part where Knuckles is like, Dot, just chilling at home, dot, dot, dot dot dot. He's like, why are we working with this imbecile? The part where he meets Agent Stone making the Robotnik coffee. That's a little bit of a gay subtext. Anyway, I love the film. Great acting, hilarious, very fun, very colourful, beautiful to look at, visually great to look at, amazing action sequences, great performances here on out. Only issue I have is the wedding part with Rachel is a bit dragged out, but it's kind of funny. Um, yeah, overall, I love Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and I will see you guys later, and bye.